Hello, love bugs. Welcome back or welcome to your new favorite show. If you're listening right now, this might be about you. This is the podcast Dear X One Last Thing, where we make healing a little bit messy. If you're new to this podcast, let me explain it a bit to you. You, the listeners, send in an anonymous letter to someone from your past. Maybe you want closure. Maybe you want to have the last word. Maybe you want to warn the public about this person. Maybe you secretly hope your target hears it and reaches back out to you. Whatever your reason, I'm your messenger. As I mentioned recently, this is your healing. This is your episode. This is your story. This is your past. This is your ex. So that means this story, this letter, can be as detailed as you want it to be. Names and all, if you so choose. If you want to keep it all anonymous, that's up to you. If you want to keep yourself anonymous, but name drop some other people, that's up to you. The world's your oyster. Feel free to share as much as you're comfortable with, and know that you could always send multiple letters in. Send in letters to ex-partners, the ones that are recent or from far, far, far in the past. Send letters to ex-friends, ex-teachers, ex-versions of yourself. Send letters in about the same situation over and over again. Who is stopping you? This is your free therapy. If any of this has intrigued you, be sure to look up Dear X One Last Thing on Instagram. Click on that link in bio, and the very first link you'll see on Linktree is the Google form where you could send in a letter of your own and hear an episode dedicated to you. Anyways, let's dive into this episode's letter. Let's dive into why you're here. The title, it's something else, is it not? Last episode, I talked about having the ultimate betrayal and the story of ultimate betrayal, but I think this episode might have it beat. What do you think? Today's sender is currently 25 and is writing a letter into an ex-partner / ex-friend. As we'll learn, the situation's complicated. Our sender and the person they're writing the letter into, well, they've known each other their whole life. They were childhood best friends, so they spent a lot of time together. They originally met because they were next door neighbors since the sender was 3 years old. And they stayed next door neighbors until the sender left for college at 18. The majority of the story will span over the course of 3 to 4 months when the sender was 19. So let's start with some background. Our sender writes in, "My family moved into town when I was 3 years old, and that was when I met her, along with some other friends that lived next door. I spent a lot of time with her and her family as a kid. Typical next door neighbor things. I rode to and from school with her sometimes. The bus stop was closest to her house, so we'd hang at hers in the morning. As we got older, our relationship slowly started to fade, and by the time we were midway through high school, we barely talked. I spent much more time at my mom's house, and it was my dad who lived close to her. And I was with my girlfriend at the time, so I rarely saw her besides passing by each other in the hallways at school. Senior year, my girlfriend and I were always on and off. During one of my offs, I hit her up just to catch up and see how she was doing. It was our last year of high school, and given that the closest college that I had in my options was 3 hours away, I knew it was our last chance to be close again. I was a major skipper in my senior year, but I made really good grades, so half my teachers didn't even really care. She had work study, so half of her day was at school and the other half was at work. So naturally, we'd hang at her house when I was skipping, and it was great to be back in our old dynamic. Pretty quickly, though, she began flirting with me when we were snapping back and forth. This went on for a while, and while I was too scared to go much further than cuddling while we watched TV in her room, it was clear that we weren't just friends anymore. We were both incredibly busy outside of the afternoons I skipped to see her, so we planned a date, but it took us a while to find any time for it. Then, one day, my brother called me crying. He told me he'd been hooking up with her for the past couple months. Apparently, my dad knew that her and I had been getting closer and assumed I was head over heels. He convinced my brother that he might lose me as a brother over her and that I'd be shattered. I wasn't mad at my brother in the slightest because he had been away and had no idea that her and I were even talking again, and especially not that I'd even developed feelings for her. And so she was scolded by her parents, except T from the sender. Her mom had fantasies about my brother, and asked her how was it and wanted to explain in detail how everything went down and got off. Weird, right? Extremely. Anyways, the sender continues to say, I didn't say anything to her when I got back. We just stopped talking, and my ex and I eventually got back together. I know this was a long time ago, but I feel like without saying too much about anybody, their past, their lives, anything, this gives a little bit of basis for the different people's characters, their morals, their personality traits. As I said, this was in high school. Things change. No need to, be unkind or pin someone as the villain or the unhealthy one. People, they change, they grow, they become unrecognizable, they heal. But for the purpose of this story, I feel like this little background gives us some well-rounded looks at everybody. So let's do a little jump to the future now. Our sender goes on to write about this ex-partner and friend. When I was away at college during freshman year, we didn't speak much that fall. Then my girlfriend and I broke up again. News got to her, and she hit me up to ask how I was doing at school. I had been feeling really depressed post-breakup, and I had a bad habit of seeking validation from women in times like that, and so I gave her my undivided attention. One day, she asked me why we never dated. In the back of my head, I thought, I don't know, maybe because you fucked my brother when I thought we were trying to establish a relationship? Instead, I told her I really didn't know why, and so she asked me if I wanted to date her. I told her I was emotionally unavailable and feeling really down from the breakup, but if she wanted to take things slow, I'd be open to going on a date with her. And so when I got home from school, we went on a few dates. One night, she invited me inside when I dropped her off from our date, and she assured me her parents didn't mind. She was still living at home. I agreed. Apparently, her dad was ecstatic that she was going on dates with me. We hooked up that night in the same bedroom we played in as kids. Very weird and surreal feeling. What made it even weirder is that after we finished, she looked to me and said, "You're better than your brother." I stifled a thanks and told her I couldn't stay for much longer. At that moment, I caught the ick bad, and I knew I wouldn't be able to have a committed relationship with her. I've always had problems saying no to women, and with enough pressure, I'd cave a lot. I told her I wasn't sure about our long-term future together, and she said she didn't mind and it was good to just keep going on dates. That all changed around New Year's. I admit my fault here in that I should have just broken things off. In my defense, our parents were just so happy we were dating, and added to the fear of hurting her was the fear of letting them down too. This doesn't excuse my actions though, and I shouldn't have kept dating her. Anyways, as we got closer to New Year's, she kept pressuring me to ask her to officially be my girlfriend, and even if I told her I still felt unsure about things, she'd brush it off. After enough time passed, she'd come back around again with something like, there's a perfect time for you to ask me to be your girlfriend coming up. And so New Year's happens, and after we kissed at midnight, I asked her. I went back to college shortly after and thought maybe I'd try to make things work. I couldn't get myself to really fall for her, even though I wanted things to work out, so I ended up breaking up with her. Come Valentine's Day, I hard launched a girl who I met in college. On the way home from our date with the girl he met in college, my phone was on the car mount, and it flashed with my ex's name, and it was clear a long message awaited me. Long story short, the message included her saying, "I thought we had more respect for each other other than that," and expressing how hurt she was and the fact that I'd really moved on. In that moment, I was really frustrated because when I was really falling for you, you were fucking my brother, which I'm going to pause here myself. Not here to point fingers, not here to be biased, not here to defend anybody. However, I agree that what she did is wrong. That maybe she was a little needy. She didn't really read the room. She was okay rushing our sender into a relationship, not really reading the body, signals or, taking no for an answer, just kind of focused on making it work forcefully. I can see how maybe it was not fair, annoying, a turnoff, how pushy she was. Pushy for dates, pushy to hook up, pushy for him to come inside, pushy for the relationship to move along. I could see the unhealthiness in that. And I know our sender has already admitted the faults of continuing to date her. But the sender should have broke things off earlier because truthfully, it is hurtful to, he asked her out on New Year's. He hard launches a girl in February. It's not a lot of time in between. And you guys have known each other since you were 3. And finally, after all this time of knowing each other, she finally gets to date you, only to be dumped and then have a new girl flash in her face. Of course, she's going to feel upset. Of course, she's going to feel rejected. Of course, she's going to feel like, wow, was I really just a fuck? Was I really just something to sleep with? And on top of that, her dishonesty and being with the brother and the other brother at the same time are trying to be unsavory, to put it in the nicest way possible. But our sender never brought that up to her. And our sender, after he knew, continued to talk to her, sleep with her, be with her. So I'm sure she thought, well, he doesn't know. And if he does know, it's not that big of a deal. He's able to look past it. If he wasn't able to look past it, he shouldn't have continued with her. They were really never going to work out, though. If you really look at all of it, it's like trying to force some puzzle pieces, like you look at all this stuff. Well, we've known each other for this long and our parents our parents know each other and our parents like us together. None of that means anything. It does, but it doesn't. It means something if you want it to mean something, if you let it mean something, if you force it to mean something. At the end of the day, you're your own people. I do agree that a statement about respect is very rich coming from her, though. Like, respect? Really? Come on. Anyways, but the sender says, come on. I genuinely tried to make things work with you. I just couldn't get past the mental hurdle. Now I've moved on and you want to make me feel guilty for that? I responded with an apology for hurting her feelings, but that I was really happy with my girlfriend and I'm not going to be hiding that. We didn't talk for a while, but then she started talking to me again. Once she got a boyfriend, she would brag about all the things he'd do for her. And I say brag because it was always followed with something you never did for me every single time. Over time, we slowly stopped talking again. Here's one more jump in the future. A couple years later, I texted her. I told her it sucked that we had spent our whole lives up to that point being best friends and it ended over a stupid teenage failed relationship. I told her I miss being friends with her and I sent her well wishes. She responded with a message that I will probably never forget. My brother and I are the most manipulative, toxic people she's ever met, and her life is the best it's ever been now because we're not in it. She told me that I needed therapy. She told me that keeping someone like me out of their lives is the best decision that they can make. It was just a mudsling after brick through the window after gut punch. I spiraled and thought, is she right? My friends can now reassure me, but they haven't known me as long as she has. Maybe I am a horrible person. I'm just really good at tricking everyone. She could see right through it. My friends have told me that's ridiculous, but it took me a long time to believe them and accept the notion that, yeah, I might be a good person. I responded with something like, I'm sorry that I've made you feel that way, but if you ever change your mind about me, I'm here. We've never spoken since then. This really just goes back to like everyone lives in their own reality of, what's right, what's wrong, how they see things. Because on one hand, we could receive a letter from her and she could explain how she's always had a crush on this guy and, she could talk about maybe her insecurities and she could talk about how him reaching out after everything just felt like him trying to keep her on a string, not letting her fully move on, like always trying to like creep back into her life. And, what was the point of coming back? And there was no separating the hurt from the breakup from the hurt of, losing the friendship. And she could talk about, maybe all of these things she did to try to get his attention or make him prove that he cared. And now right now we're hearing his perspective. And so it's really just what's right and wrong, and is there actually a right or wrong, or is it all just someone's perspective that determines that? Super interesting, and it's why I absolutely love this show, and I love the stories you send in, and I love the letters you send in, and I love hearing different perspectives and how people change with time. It's really just such a beautiful thing to be able to capture. So thank you if you've ever sent anything in. Thank you if you are currently writing something to send in. I so appreciate you and I love you. But now it's time to get into my favorite part, the letter. Dear CA, first off, I hope you're doing well. Last I heard, you're married, working in your career, and living your life. I truly do hope you're happy these days. Still, I never got to say my piece. For a long time, I was upset that you moved on, thinking that I was the quote unquote bad guy in our story. And I'm okay with that now. You can think all of these nasty things you want about me because I know me and where my heart lies. Having someone who knew me for so long attack my character at its core really hurt me and sent me spiraling for a long time. I assumed you were one of the people who knew me best, so maybe I was a bad person, maybe I was manipulative, maybe I was the worst thing that ever happened to you, or maybe you knew exactly how to hurt me, exactly what to say. I knew you could be vengeful, but I'd always hope you'd think twice before sinking your teeth into me. I've moved on too, and I'm happy to say I'm the best version of myself that I've ever been. I don't need validation from women the way that I used to. I don't fall into the arms of whoever will have me when I'm feeling down, because I'm better than that now. Sometimes I wish that things could have ended differently, but it's clear that you're not meant to be in my life, and I in yours. I'm very grateful for the time that we did have, and I don't think my life would be the same, nor would I be the same person that I love so much today if it weren't for our relationship. So thank you. Our kids aren't going to grow up best friends like we dreamed of as children, and we'll never see each other again. I can finally say I'm happy with the outcome. I'm so excited for the life I had ahead of me, and while a part of me will always think that you could have been a part of it, I'm going to continue on. I'll always have love for you in my heart. I'll always want what's best for you and hope that your life is heading and I hope that your life is headed in the green of pasture as mine looks to be right now. Love. Sometimes that's just what life is. Sometimes there's only the happy endings that we make, only the closure we create. Sometimes it doesn't come from, mending these broken hearts and mending relationships and finally being on good terms. Sometimes we just choose to want to be happy and want to be good despite everything else, despite how it worked out. We recognize that we still deserve good things. We recognize that even if we have hurt people that we love, punishing ourselves for the rest of our life won't fix that, won't change that. And I think that's what this sender came to terms with, and for that, I'm very proud of them. If our sender's ex-partner or friend hears this, I would love to hear what she has to say in response. I hope she's doing very good as well. I hope she truly, 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 truly feels so good in her decision and in her life. And I wish nothing but the best for both of them. And honestly, I feel like that's a great place to stop. That is a wrap for, what is it now? Episode 11? Episode 11. Wow. That is so surreal because I think my last podcast, The Love Bug Lounge, had a total of 15 episodes. So to think that we are almost passing that up is absolutely insane. Thank you for being a part of the journey, being a part of the ride. I've already mentioned the Instagram earlier, but please give a follow if you feel so up to it. Like, share, comment on whatever you're listening on right now. It really, really helps. You guys don't understand how much it helps me, how much it helps the algorithm, how much it helps the platform, just all of it. So whatever way that you support, know that it's appreciated. Know that I think about it daily. And that's all. Until next time, I love you. Remember, don't text your ex. Text me instead. Love, Mia Rose.